Welcome to Gamechangers live from Miami, Florida. My name is Sergio Tigera. I'm your host. And each and every week, we bring you someone who has been a game changer in their field and who's touched the lives of thousands to get their perspective on their journey, their mindset, their struggles and successes so that we can inspire you on your journey. So let's get started right now. You can catch us each and every week on your favorite podcast channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it, wherever you find it. As well as starting now in April, we'll be on Island TV on Comcast and broadcasting to 13 countries. And we're now a top 2% podcast globally. So thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us. So my guest today is Katie Barnett. She's coming to us from California. She's a mom of 3. She built a team of over 1,300 people and a 6-figure business all online. In 2021, she left that, resigned, and started over with a new company, growing even larger than before in a year. So she's currently an influencer, a coach, a top leader, a regular podcast guest, talking about mindset, leveling up, and growth. And she's also doing all that as a mom of 3, which we know as parents is not easy to do. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
How did you grow a team of 1,300 people? I mean, that is no easy feat. We hear, individuals that talk about it, but that's not easy to do. What's the secret sauce?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question, but I think that I was something that stood out at the time. I am unapologetically myself, and I kind of never found myself like planning a business like that. It was in network marketing. It was something I wasn't interested in and thought was ridiculous. And
That's usually how they all start off, right?
right? Yeah, like no thanks, I'll never do that. But the product was amazing, and so I just remember saying, like, I think the first thing I did was say, I'm going to just be proud of the fact that I'm doing this, even if I think it's a little bit ridiculous. And then I showed up regularly and made sure that people knew I was there. And that doesn't mean that I was selling my product every day. It just meant that I was going to start showing up. And I think that a big moment for me was when I realized, both in my team, because at the time I wasn't like very impressed with the leadership that I was under and did not understand anything about how these things worked. And so I just thought, like, if I'm going to bring these people into this business, I'm going to lead it the way that I want to be led. And so I was a new kind of leader, and very much in a community where everybody was valued and you ran your own business and we supported one another. And I had the opportunity then, with how much I was showing up online, to, reinvent who I was going to show up as in general, and that's really kind of the beautiful thing. It's not about pretending you're someone you're not. It's about going like, who do I want to be at the end of the day? Who do I want, like, how do I want people to remember me and think of me? And I want to be remembered for helping people, for supporting people, for believing in people, for seeing people, for like the goodness and the greatness that's inside them. And, so I think it was really a combination of all of that, being very consistent, not letting the roller coaster of sales destroy me, which it can so many people, creating a team culture where we supported one another wholeheartedly, and just, deciding that this is what was going to happen. And once I did that, it took off. It was a lot of fun.
Showing up is so important in life, right? Not only in your business, but showing up, even if you don't have it all figured out, if you don't have the plan necessarily, but you're there. And like you said, consistency is so critical as well. When you started, though, obviously you didn't have 1,300 people. You started with your first person and then your second person, right? I mean, how did you, what does showing up mean to you?
Well, for them, it meant, supporting them and giving them, making sure that they had the systems down. And I think, honestly, I probably handheld some people a little too much, but it worked out. But that was one of the big things that caused me to want to shift was to see another company that really had the systems in place. Like we were creating systems before. So I created tons of systems, and, great systems make normal people great, So I was
Right.
creating systems, and I create good systems. It's what I've always done. I used to work for a construction company, and I was valued there because I recreated all of their systems. And but at a certain level, that's not what you should have to be doing anymore, And
Right.
so I think that the biggest thing for what made it easy for people to jump in was definitely not just like, because people love a good community. It's pretty great. It's hard to find a good community when you're in your mid 30s and you've got kids. And so the community is wonderful, but when the systems are in place, then, anybody can succeed unless they decide not to, And so I think that was probably the biggest thing that I did. It did get exhausting because things change so much. So you have to create new systems. And when you don't have a
So
partner, then
right. So you got into network marketing as was it by accident? Was it somebody, out of you didn't have a choice, or you were just looking for something? How did you get into that? What
so I
led to
mean,
that point?
the truth, like when I look back on it now, so it's been like 5.5 years. We had just built a home that we had like built, architect, like all that, and we went a little bigger than our budget really allowed. And so, we were kind of scraping by. I had a small business that was an art related business. It was really stressful and hard for me to keep up with. So when this kind of, I had no intention of starting this business. My best friend was selling, she sold everything under the sun. She wanted me to join everything. I always said no, not a salesperson, not a salesperson. This product just made sense to me because it was, healthy and clean, and it was something that I needed and could use. And so I like bought the smallest package I could and was like, oh crap, this stuff works. And then I was like, okay, I'll have a party. And so we did an online party, and I which like makes me want to throw up in my mouth just remembering all the online parties. But we did an online party, and I was really involved in it because I was like, I'm not going to force my friends and family to be a part of this if I'm not going to be involved in it. And so with that, she made like, I don't even know, $2,000 off of my friends and family. And I was like, okay, never mind. I'll do this and make the money.
Wow.
So that was kind of how it worked. And I was like, look, if I can earn enough money, I wanted to make like $200 to $300 a month. I wanted to offset our energy bills so that I could turn the AC on whenever I wanted. That was my goal.
That was the goal.
And yeah. And then it crept up to 1,000. And then as my team started growing and things started happening, and I started like really just coming into like, wow, like there's another piece of me that I've been, I forgot about all these years. You have the kids, and those like dreams that you had in the past, they kind of disappear. You feel guilty bringing them back up again, putting them on the wall. And so this was really a huge gift for me because while of course nothing is more important than my kids and my family, it was it served me in such a great way to get to serve others and to get to earn again and to get to think again. And it was a lot of fun.
It fed your soul and it gave you a purpose again. You kind of lost that identity a bit, or put it on the back burner, so to speak, when you have the kids. And that's, you said you felt guilty. I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that have been on the same situation, right? And they shouldn't feel guilty coming back when the time is right. Of course, if kids need you, but it's such a big part of having a fulfilled life is having a sense of purpose, right? And like, why am I here?
Absolutely.
How can I help others? And so forth. And so you found it in that business, and then you grew it to, over 1,300 people, over 6 figures. Then you decide to just drop it and leave. So why? What caused that to happen?
I still have quite a few people who aren't very happy with me. I mean, there's a story, there's a spiritual piece to it for sure. And like, can I go there?
Tell me,
I
of
mean,
course. Tell me about it. Let's
okay.
go all the
So,
way.
I mean, at the time, like my personal life was struggling, and I was keeping my business afloat and going because again, it filled me up to get to lead and train and help others. And I was at the point where I was really serving anybody in the company who wanted any kind of help because there weren't a lot of people who had built this business online, and I loved getting to do that. Um, but personally, I was going through a lot in marriage and family and everything, and so I was steeped in prayer about that alone. And you know, like got to the point where I was like, oh yeah, I can pray. And then it was like, this is all I pray about, you know. So
Mm.
really honestly, where you're just kind of like begging God for guidance type of place, you know. And so I I was using a product that my cousin started selling very casually, and my cousin had lost her son 2 years before, a year before, I don't yeah, it'll be 3 years this, May, and he was about my son's age. It was devastating
Mm.
for our whole family, as you can imagine, and, I was buying this product from her and super pissed that she wasn't selling my product with me, you know? But the product was amazing and it was working, and they have a system where you're not running parties, and parties are they're dying, they're dead, they're annoying. Nobody wants like if you want to go to a party, it's to like dance and get a free drink and talk to your
Yeah.
friends, you know,
Not
not
out of
to
obligation because you feel bad. They invite
yeah,
you. You got to show up. You got to buy something.
yeah. Let's call it
That's
something different. It's not
that's
a
not a
party, all right?
yeah, yeah. That's not a sustainable, business model these days. Usually.
So the business model was different, and I had just from sharing my own personal code, I had a ton of credits, and so I was like, okay, explain to me how this works. Just explain it. And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like putting my code out there. You need to talk to so and so. And I knew that I didn't want to be talked into another business. I knew what those calls were about. I get, you know,
Mhm.
recruited all the time, and I just wasn't interested. I had too much to lose and I couldn't rebuild, and I didn't want to do it all over again. But she put me on the phone with someone named Justin Prince, who is a huge leader, not just in network marketing industry, but around the globe. He works with John Maxwell, and he just happens to be our top leader in this business. Have you heard of him? Do you know him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have.
All right. So I got on the phone with Justin, and he just kind of laid it out for me and explained like the future of it. He designed kind of the system, and he's just a really exceptional person. And so I got off the phone, still convinced that I wasn't going to do anything. And I just remember having this moment where I was cooking mac and cheese for my kids, like super healthy. And I was like, what if I did this with Sarah? Like, what if we did this together? And my thought was, what could I do for her life? You know? Um, and and then I just started like, it was like God wasn't answering my questions and my prayers in other areas, but he was like, I have this for you. I have
Mm.
this for you. And the more that I meditated, the more that I, you know, just did everything I could to try and manifest like the true answer here, it just became so overwhelmingly clear. And I remember my husband saying, you know, don't what if you just like just stop doing your job and just wait, you know, don't do this yet, it's going to be a big deal. And I was like, you don't understand, I can no longer lead in this place authentically. I cannot, like, so my options are to quit, resign and be done, or to resign and do this new thing. And ultimately that was what I decided to do. And I say that it sounds like some big long decision. It really, when I looked back at my text messages, it was a matter of like 4 days. Um, of it was just like so clear. And now I joke because getting to work with Sarah has been amazing. She's, you know, been in recovery for 2 years now, and
Mm.
she's just one of the most inspirational and incredible human beings I've ever met. Um, and but it's not about what I did for her, you know, she's done so much for me. And this amazing team that we have, and the, just what we get to do here. So it's been a blast. And then I think beyond that, I've gotten to really expand what I get to do and who I get to be. I'm encouraged regularly to start the business, start the blog, open up other streams of income, and it's been amazing.
So before we get into into that next part, you mentioned living authentically, right? And I think that's a big part of your ethos and kind of what's important to you in your life. What does it feel like when you get into that space where you feel like you can't be authentic? Because I think there's a lot of people out there in corporate America that feel like they need to kind of put on a different face or persona when they're at work, and they can't just be their true authentic self, where there's a lot of value in that, right? Of course, you can't, go nuts at work just because, you go crazy and just to be yourself. There's a time and a place, but there's a lot to be said when you feel like you can't be your true authentic self. And were you feeling that at that point?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like, while it was how I started my business there, as I grew, as I became more of like a leader, and I was regularly reminded that I needed to tone it down.
Mm.
And so, I mean, just with that alone, it was, are you getting feedback? I have a little feedback.
No.
No? Okay, that's funny. So just with that alone, it's soul crushing, it's it just feels wrong. And I think that people probably don't even recognize that that's what is like nagging at them, because it's kind of society, like the way it goes, you just have to like act a certain way. I know that once I decided, like, I'm just going to be me and see what happens, and the response that I got, I am wacky, and I'm silly, and sometimes I say bad words, and
Yeah.
I just, but the response I got to that was huge, and it's because you just attract people with that vibe of true authenticity. And you know what? If people don't like it, that's fine. I get it. In some positions, in some jobs, you do have to like uphold a certain, persona and whatnot. And I still have to do that too. Like, I go to
Mhm.
dinners where I'm like, okay, good Katie face on. Like, I'm on some podcasts where I'm like, oh, we're serious today. Okay, I
Yeah.
can do serious. I could have used a heads up, but we're serious today. I don't think that
Yeah.
means that you can't be authentic though, and
Yeah.
um getting to be your authentic self, and then being willing to recognize that, whether or not you're really stepping into that purpose of yours, and I think that especially when it comes to the corporate jobs, you just have to show up, do the things, go home, and then you start losing again that piece of yourself that
Mhm.
is everything.
And at times, though, it puts you in a vulnerable position, because if you feel like, okay, I'm going to be myself, but here it goes. I hope I don't get fired because I need my job and I can't. And then a lot of people will retreat from that because they said, okay, no, I can't risk it. Right. And plus, when you put yourself out, let's say you tell your story and you kind of expose your wounds, right? You maybe your mistakes from the past. It's hard to be vulnerable because you feel like you're going to get criticized. But at times, most times, when you do that, that's when you really connect and land with people, because they say, oh my God, I get it. That's real. I feel exactly the way you do. And that's when
100%.
things really take off.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that, I'm thinking of this in two different directions. I would say that most successful entrepreneurs that I know were at some point in that place where they're like, I feel trapped and I want to do more, be more. I, I can't do this. And then on the other end of it is just like at the influencer level, when I would just talk about the things in motherhood or in just womanhood, or just anything that people are afraid to say, that are just the hardships. And I talk a lot about mental health. I am like, my kids know I go to therapy. They know that therapy is good. They learn what I learn in therapy. Like and when we start talking about these things that are hard to talk about, that authenticity is what connects with other people so much. And it can be scary. But in my experience, it always has like a beautiful result, and even if that just means one person reaching out to me to say like, I'm so thankful that you shared this. Like, I thought I was the only person in the world who felt this way. So yeah, I mean, small scale and large scale, I think that figuring out how to live that authentic life, it doesn't mean that you have to put it all over Facebook and Instagram. But we see a lot of inauthenticity in those places as well, and so that's another hard thing. I think that people are looking around and going, well, everybody's life is perfect, and that's just not the case.
Right. So then you get into this new business, and where are you now? Like, what's the current status now in that business?
Major growth. I mean,
You've been there
income
about a
doubled.
year?
Yeah, a little over a year. So doubled income,
From the
large
last
growth.
company.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I started over. Like, I did not, some people are
You
like,
started
oh,
from zero.
they started from zero. Sometimes they're like, oh, they gave you a bonus or they gave you a team or they did like that. There was none of that. Like, I started from zero and was like, anybody wants to come with me? Like, I'm taking the fishbowl. Here we go.
Taking the stapler.
And there are rules, because you sign a contract. I had no idea when I just wanted like a free cleaning product. I had no idea that I was signing a contract to sign my life away. So that's another thing that people don't really know. But so yeah, there's rules.
So
when
you couldn't
resign.
you couldn't, let's say, invite people to come with you that are currently in your downline.
I couldn't. Yeah, I can't like recruit. I can't. Yeah, it's been interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like people could still reach out to me and they did. And that's fine. It worked out.
And so how big is your team now?
Well, it's a fraction of the size, but a much larger income, which is just what happens when you
That's
have a comp
perfect.
plan that's beautiful and systems in place, and people are earning money. The average team member earns a good amount of money that most people don't in most other companies. So it's a neat place to be. It's kind of
You want to name
changing
it?
the
You can name
place.
it. You're allowed to name it.
I'm like, people are guessing.
You
They
can
already
call it
know.
the company. Everyone's wondering.
I'm with Modere. It's fine.
Okay,
With
cool.
Modere, yes. And yeah, health and wellness products, all clean, tons of clinical research. It's just it's a neat business to partner with for sure.
Good. So your kids are 5, 7, and 9,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not easy to juggle 3 kids and running a business at the same time. What are your keys there? What advice can you give?
I think the biggest thing that I work with a really great business coach, which has been amazing because I needed it. I needed somebody to like sit me down and get me really organized. And one of the um, biggest things he did with me was force me to just get my calendar on point. So, my day is scheduled from 5:45 in the morning until 2:30, which is my like work stop to be with the kids, pick them up, get to be with them. And then we have all the things. We have baseball, gymnastics. We've got, lots of more baseball, like baseball parents. Do you feel me?
Yeah, it's not
the
easy.
other day the other day I was like, you can never complain about baseball season because there's always another parent who can just totally blow your schedule out of the water with whatever their kids are doing for baseball. So
Right.
it's a lot, but it's so much fun. And so it's so important to me to get to be a part of their lives and in all of it. And so starting a schedule was huge. We talk about kind of like, I don't know, you can call it the magic hour, or getting your just the times of day where you can really like get your head on straight and figure out what's going on. And for me, that's 5:45 in the morning. It's like better than staying up late and working. I get to get up, start my day. The kids are still asleep. It's all my time. And I would have never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be somebody who wakes up at 5:45 in the morning to do work. But now it's my favorite, So it's just like Atomic Habits, You
Hmm.
start reading these
James
books, you start
Clear,
yeah,
The
you
Miracle
start you
Morning
start
also.
learning. Yeah, exactly. The Miracle Morning. It all makes sense. And then once you start practicing it, um, things just click, and things start to
Yeah.
work and you feel like you have control of that schedule rather than just like running by whatever messages are coming into your phone and then being willing to put the phone down. And because everything that I do is on my phone, all of my communication with my team, all of my customers, everything. And so just knowing that you don't have to be anybody's 24-hour concierge, um, and taking that time for yourself and your family, and then scheduling the times for work where you can really you can bang a lot out if you really focus on it.
Yeah. Katie, you're doing some great things. We're proud of you. Keep it up. I'm sure you're leading that team to greatness here at Modair, and you're going to have a lot of success going forward. And congratulations on your success in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. You could be the game changer in their lives. See you next week. If you loved what you heard in today's episode of Game Changers, please subscribe and rate us. The lessons and the stories in these podcasts are immensely valuable, so I invite you to share them with a friend who needs to hear it. You may end up being the game changer in their lives.